Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to News Hour at 2. We are coming to you live from Broadcasting House in Accra. I am Winifred Efum. We start off from the courts. The Supreme Court has, in a majority 5-2 decision, ruled that Asen North MP Mr. James Jachi-Kwesen parliamentary duties. This is until the determination of the substantive case filed against him at the Supreme Court. A Cape Coast High Court in July 2021 nullified the election of Mr. Kwesen after it found he owed allegiance to Canada when filing his nomination forms to contest the post. This decision was taken in a petition brought before the Supreme Court by Michael Ankuma Nimfa, a resident of Asimbreku in the Central Region. Mr. Ankuma Nimfa had earlier secured a judgment at the Cape Coast High Court overturning the election of Mr. Kwesen as null and void, but the embattled legislator ran to the Court of Appeal to have the decision set aside. Mr. Ankuma Nimfa is challenging the eligibility of Mr. Kwesen as the MP for Asen North, following allegations that he held dual citizenship prior to contesting the MP position. The Court of Appeal dismissed his case. Mr. Kwesen subsequently went to the Supreme Court to have his issue resolved. Michael Ankuma Nimfa also dragged the issue to the Supreme Court to seek interpretation of Article 94, Clause 2A of the 1992 Constitution. In the same case, Michael asked the Apex Court to place an injunction on Mr. Kwesen from holding himself as the MP for Asen North until the final determination of the case. From the court, we head over to the Ashanti region, where more than 100,000 young people across the country will, over the next 5 years, be engaged in the National Youth Volunteers Program. This will be an institutional framework to modernize volunteerism and ignite the spirit of selflessness. The program was launched by the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, at Ashanti region. The program, organized by the National Youth Authority under the auspices of the Ministry of Youth and Sports.
Volunteer activities over the years have played significant roles in the development of the nation from community to the national level. One of the critical issues facing youth development in the country is lack of institutional framework in the area of volunteerism. This has resulted in the uncoordinated manner of voluntary activities in the country. The National Youth Volunteer Program, NYVP, a flagship program of the National Youth Authority, is set on the theme Mobilizing Youthful Hearts for Volunteer Services in National Development. The NYVP is designed to coordinate volunteer activities in the country and seeks to implement 13 modules with an objective of developing active citizens, foster national cohesion, and create opportunities for skills development among the youth. The program is envisaged to empower over 100,000 young people across the country in the next 5 years. The Ashanti Regional Minister, Mr. Simon Osei-Mensah, pledged the support of the Regional Coordinating Council to make the program efficient. The Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority is Mr. Pius Enam Hajide.
We have embarked on this process because we believe that lodged deep in the heart of the Ghanaian youth is a desire to see this country prosper and a zest to partake in the action which will bring about that prosperity.
The Deputy Minister for Youth and Sports, Mr. Ernest Osei-Bobie, said the ministry will continue to build the capacity of the youth to enable them completely take up the mantle of leadership in future. The Chief of AYC, Nana Adai Jamra, who represented the said the program will enable the youth develop the spirit of volunteerism and contribute their quota towards national development. The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, noted that the program will create a generation of Ghanaian political and thoughtful leaders.
The main goals of the National Youth Volunteer Program to develop active citizens, to foster national cohesion, because you can volunteer in any part of the country. You can go and teach from any part of the country. You can move from Ashanti and you have the skills and there's a need in Volta, you can go. There's a need in the Upper West, you can go. You can go from the Upper West and go to OT to offer a service. It gives national cohesion.
Young persons between the ages of 18 to 35 years will have the opportunity to volunteer in areas such as agriculture, education, health, afforestation, community self-help program, gender mainstreaming, among others.
And here in Accra and at the Meet the Press series, the Minister for Energy, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, is asking Ghanaians to be patient as his ministry, together with other stakeholders, find lasting solutions to the recent intermittent power supply in parts of the country. GridCo earlier announced that the country will experience some intermittent power outages as a result of ongoing projects across the country.
We have not been particularly happy about incidents happening around the same time in 2s and 3s. A couple of days ago, we had our Abuaze switchyard burnt down, and it has led to a lot of intermittent power curtailments in parts of Western region, Central region, and even Accra. It has affected many parts of Accra. Because what GridCo is striving to do is to put the whole network in a circuit such that you can wheel energy wherever you are needed efficiently, with automatic meters and stuff in there to ensure that even when they stay in the office, the power can be put on. But that has also meant that they increasingly having trip-offs if the load imbalance it's unfavorable to the system. It tries to shut itself down to prevent machine and equipment losses, rather than put the lights on to cause those equipment too. And for some of the lines that we are changing, they are so outdated that they are congested and it's causing increasingly trips. It's true that parts of the country are experiencing intermittent power charges because of a combination of factors, the work that we are doing and the power itself also giving up. And I hope that Ghanaians bear with us so that we are not going to sleep. We are going to work around the clock to make sure that we sort it out so that we keep the lights on.
In December 2011, the Constitution Review Commission published a report in which it recommended that the death penalty be abolished in the new constitution and replaced with life without parole. Among the reasons it cited for its recommendation were the irreversible consequences of executing wrongfully convicted individuals, the failure of the death penalty as a deterrent, the barbaric nature of the punishment, the fact that executions do not necessarily provide closure to victims' families, the dehumanizing effects of executions, and the need to focus instead on rehabilitation. Ghana has not executed anyone since 1993, and the number of death-eligible crimes has decreased in recent years. Although courts in Ghana continue to pronounce death sentences, in practice, death row inmates reportedly have their death sentences commuted to life imprisonment after they have served at least 10 years on death row. Is it time to scrap the death penalty? Joining us to have this public conversation is Mrs. Hannah Osei, Human Rights Education and Youth Engagement Coordinator, Amnesty International. Good afternoon, Madam.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us. Right. I know this has been an ongoing conversation, but let's start on this premise. What crimes are punishable by death per our laws?
Okay, so the laws of Ghana,
right,
crimes such as genocide, murder, piracy, smuggling of gold and diamonds outside the country, and then treason are some of the crimes that constitute punishment, death penalty.
Right. So we understand that when we have that sentence, people go into the sentence for 10 years before they are ready to serve in their other punishments. For the layman, what is the difference between death penalty and life imprisonment if these two go concurrently?
Okay, so death penalty, also known as capital punishment, is the practice of killing a person for a crime committed. And we say that it is final because it ends life. But then life imprisonment is a punishment for a crime where the convicted person remains in prison for the rest of their life.
Okay.
The life when it's life imprisonment, but then for death penalty, you lose your life.
But are there any privileges for the two? If someone is under the death sentence, life imprisonment, are there any privileges so that one will serve 10 years before the person is taken over to the life imprisonment sector?
Okay, so yes, there are privileges.
Right.
You know, the right to life, okay, is protected when you are sentenced to life imprisonment. We've had instances where people who have been sentenced to death and even executed were later exonerated after years.
Okay.
Which means that if you were sentenced to life imprisonment, you would have the opportunity to be freed once you were exonerated. But then once you are killed, which is final, there is no way you can come back to that. So that is one of the advantages of having life imprisonment as compared to the death penalty as a punishment.
Right. It's been a long while since the death penalty was utilized. Will you then say that the death penalty law in the books of Ghana has outlived its?
Yes, of course. You know, in general, Ghana is seen as an abolitionist in practice. And that is what we just said. Since 1993, the death penalty sentences have been going on, but then no one has been executed. No president has signed for anyone to be executed. And there is also no proof that states that the presence of the death penalty in the Constitution is deterring people from committing crimes, and so there is a reduction in crime in Ghana. You bear with me that crime or criminal incidences have been on the rise. So, yes, the death penalty has outlived its usefulness in our Constitution.
I know there have been ongoing conversations to scrap it off. And so, how much effort are we towards the removal of the death penalty? And would you say the effort that we are making is even paying off?
Well, so I would say that started back in 2010 when a presidential commission was set up to review the Constitution. They came up with recommendations, and one of the recommendations being that the death penalty should be taken out of the Constitution. Moving forward, we've had other stakeholder engagement on the need for the death penalty to be taken out of our Constitution. That is, for it to be abolished. Quite recently, we had a member of parliament, that is Honorable Francis here to
right,
presenting a private member bill in parliament requesting that some sections of the Armed Forces Act, that is Act 1 of 1962, and then the Criminal Offences Act 29 of 1960 be amended so that all punishments of death penalty are replaced with life sentence or life imprisonment instead.
But
so quite recently we had a stakeholder consultative meeting for us to make input into the bills that have been proposed by the member of parliament. And moving forward, we hope to lobby other stakeholders for more input and then get the bill passed.
But if all these efforts are ongoing, as you say now we have the Member of Parliament for Medina also taking it up, what would you say is the main reason? What is holding it down? Why is it not making headway for us to scrap it off our books? If we have had recommendations, all this efforts, lobbying and all that is going on, why is it not going on as we want it to do? Is there a special reason why that is happening?
Okay, so the issue of death penalty in our constitution can be taken off our books through a referendum.
Okay.
So in times past, the attention has been on getting a referendum to do away with these provisions in our constitution because they are entrenched. But then quite recently, we realized that there's another approach we can take to have most of the acts in the constitution that talk about the use of the death penalty, take it off. So that is why now we have taken a team and we are focusing on the amendment of the Criminal Offences Act and the Armed Forces Act, which will not require a referendum because a referendum will be much more expensive. Right. But then this will require a constitutional amendment, which will require members of parliament voting in favor or otherwise of the amendment of the specific act of the Criminal Offences Act, and then specific sections of the Criminal Offences Act, and then the Armed Forces Bill or Act to amend and take out the death penalty.
So my last question would be, do you believe, are you hopeful that the private members bill would set the conversation going again to resurrect whatever effort that we have put in? And do we have data as of now, how many inmates are on the death row?
Okay, so as at the end of 2021,
right,
we had 155 inmates on death row.
Right.
And 159 of them being men. And out of 159 men, we have 6 of them being foreigners. 2 from Burkina Faso and 4 from Nigeria. And then we have 6 women also on the death row. So that is the statistics we have now.
Right. So if what we have learned so far is what it is, then after 10 years, they will be moved to the sentence, the life sentence. Is that it?
It is not automatic.
It is not. What accounts for that?
So there are so many things that are put into consideration before such people are granted amnesty and then have their death sentence converted to life imprisonment. Okay. So what we are calling for now is that the president could come out with a moratorium to declare that all death sentences should be put on hold.
Okay.
Or to put on hold all execution of those who have been sentenced to death now.
Right.
So the 155 people we have, there should be a moratorium stating that they should not be executed.
Right. Thank you so much. We hope the lobbying pays off. We are grateful for your time, and that has been Mrs. Hannah Ose, Human Rights Education and Youth Engagement Coordinator, Amnesty International. Let's now do some party politics. The New Patriotic Party has announced dates for its upcoming constituency, regional and national elections ahead of the party's delegates' congress. Briefing the media after the National Executive Committee meeting in Accra, the General Secretary of the party, Mr. John Bwedu, said nomination forms will be made available on the various social media platforms. He cautioned all those who will be vying for position in the internal elections to follow the tenets of party and conduct themselves in a manner to depict their readiness to serve.
In most of the constituencies that we held on hold, we've been able to resolve it. Either the election is ongoing or we've taken a decision to have the election of the constituency officers. Either we've decided to retain the polling station executive. The National Executive Committee decided that the constituency elections will be held between Thursday, 28th of April to Monday, 2nd of May. Nominations will be open and closed between 19th and 20th of April. Vetting of prospective aspirants will be held on 21st to 22nd of April 2022. If there is any appeal or redress, it will also be heard on 23rd to 24th of April. It must also be noted that practice notes will be given to the constituencies as to the album that they have to use. So prospective aspirants, when they go to their constituencies, after the nomination has been opened, they will have access to the album in order for them to also go through the album. The positions to be contested for at the constituency level are as follows: the constituency chairperson, constituency first vice chairperson, the second vice chairperson, constituency secretary, constituency assistant secretary, constituency treasurer, constituency organizer, constituency women's organizer, constituency youth organizer, and constituency Nasara coordinators.
The People's National Convention, PNC, has welcomed a directive from an Accra High Court for their and chairman, Mr. David Apasera and Moses Daniba, to seek internal solutions to their problem. This follows the removal of both the leader and chairman from their positions in the party on grounds of misconduct and financial misappropriation, of which the duo took the matter to court to seek for nullification of their removal. At a news conference in Accra, the General Secretary of the party, Janet Asana Nabla, asked the rank and file of the party to accept the court order, bury their differences, and continue to support the current leadership led by Governor Bala Saliu Mai Kankan.
September 2021, the PNC removed David Apasara and Moses Daniba as leader and chairman respectively on grounds of misconduct and financial misappropriation. The duo took the matter to court to seek nullification of their removal. The party put up a strong defense and moved the court to direct the duo to use and exhaust the party's internal dispute resolution to seek for their reinstatement. See Article 67 of the PNC Constitution. On Monday, the 11th of April 2022, the court upheld the motion and subsequently directed the plaintiffs to come back to the party to seek redress. The party welcomes this directive from the court. As a political party, we are asking for numbers. We are not fighting Mr. Apasara and Mr. Daniba. As I have said, they are our brothers, and we wouldn't want to fight them. We wouldn't want to fight them. We want them to be part of us. We want them to come back to the party. We want them to know that we did them for the better, not for the worse. So they should not hold it against any of us that it was witch hunting. Never, never. We won't do that to them. They are still our brothers. They've contributed immensely for this party, the growth and everything. They were our MPs. And we still appreciate them. We still appreciate them. We want them to come back and follow the party structures so that we can get a resolution to this problem.
The Ghana National Fire Service is urging the public to celebrate Easter without fire outbreaks. It has launched a fire safety campaign to ensure safety during Easter celebrations and beyond. Dubbed Operation Prevent Fires, Save Lives and Property, it seeks to prevent fire outbreaks or to bring the numbers recorded in the country to the barest minimum before, during, and after the Easter season. Joining me in the studio is the Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Fire Service, Mr. Timothy Osafo Efum. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
It's a pleasure
My
being
namesake.
here. Thank you.
Right. The Easter festivities is just around the corner.
Yes.
What are some of the activities put in place for it?
Right. Thank you very much. I think looking at the past,
Right.
we have recorded incidents that supposed not to occur. And this is as a result of carelessness and then ignorance. And then these are the incidents that this time around we want to prevent them from occurring. Of course, when they occur, citizens lose their property, and in extreme cases, we lose certain lives.
Sure.
And so we want to prevent these type of incidents from occurring this time around. And so for the first time in the history of the Ghana National Fire Service, all commanders, from the regional to the district commanders, everybody is to stay at post. They are not supposed to celebrate the holidays. No, they can do that after the holidays. Then all fire appliances that are out of commission have been repaired and are in commission. Those that have not been able to repair, regional commanders are to put in place contingency measures to ensure that places that don't have fire covers now are covered. Then personnel are also to be put on alert. Now what is happening is that during occasions like this, you see only those personnel on duty that are there. So where there is a need to reinforce
for backup, it becomes difficult
because we are not in barracks. Therefore, all personnel are also to be on alert for any eventuality. Then again, we have reinvigorated our educational campaigns, and we have reinforced the campaign teams with additional men who are also going down strategic locations for public safety education. Then also,
permit me to come here. I'm happy you mentioned educational campaigns. Per the data you have gathered, are we doing well? So far, I know you have had many of these processes going on. You have these campaigns that you roll out as and when.
Yes.
Are we doing well? Is the public listening to the messages that you bring out?
For the Christmas campaign, it went extremely very well. However, what we realized was that bushfires was on the rise. So I think the next season we also have to look at that angle, because in the past we have had a lot of domestic fires. We concentrated on the domestic fires. So I think the coming year we'll have a holistic approach to fire safety education. Then also we have formed task forces. These task forces are to go to the various markets to ensure that safety precautions are adhered to.
Because we do have many
we have experienced some market fires this year.
Yeah.
So we want to seize that now. We don't want to experience any of market fires again.
But do you have periodic checks in these markets?
Yes, we have periodic checks, of which reports are submitted to the assemblies who are in charge of the markets. So we do have periodic checks.
And when these checks are reported, do you have any feedback as to whether those wrongs were corrected?
Yes. So in instances where we think that problems are with electrical issues, we go there with Electricity Company of Ghana for those issues to be resolved. Where they cannot be resolved, we ask the assembly to either disconnect the area completely or whatever needs to be done as advised by the electricity company, it is done. So these are some of the measures that we have put in place during this season to ensure that we record minimum fires if there should be any.
Okay, I know there are some challenges from your front which you will admit to. Are you also doing some things to put those to an end for us? Especially sometimes there are fires and there are reports that they came without any water. We hear that a lot. Are you also doing your homework to prevent that things?
Thank you very much.
Happening?
You saw me laughing. It has never occurred that we move to a fire scene without water. Now let me briefly take you through something that we do. We have what we call watches. That is groups of men who work. So for instance, if you are for night and I'm taking over from you in the morning, when I come and the tender is not filled, I'll not take over. You have to fill it before I take over. And these things are recorded. So there is no way a fire tender will move from a station to an incident scene without water. What normally happens is that the water in the fire tender can operate sometimes within a maximum of 3 minutes. The water is exhausted. So because our towns are not properly planned, that is why people see us that way. If it is properly planned, every 100 meters in residential and industrial areas, you find fire hydrants planted, fully charged. So you don't open a fire hydrant without water flowing.
And is that what is happening now?
That is what is happening now. Now, yes. We don't have the hydrants planted. Where even you have the hydrants planted, you don't have water flowing. Sometimes the water is flowing, but the pressure is such that it cannot fill the tank. So you need to go to areas that you can have high pressure to fill. So that is about the water issue. Okay. So we don't move to incidents without
So if
water.
all these issues you have enumerated are there, what are the plans to make sure that, yeah.
So as backup, we are getting water tankers. That is the first stage. The second stage is that all personnel under strict instructions to immediately make an assessment of the situation and see whether the water they have can deal with the situation. If it cannot deal with the situation, you quickly request for assistance, so that by the time your water is exhausted, there will be a second and third and fourth as required to supplement the situation.
All right. The Easter holidays will be coming soon, and most people will be home. Yes. Take us through some of the safety measures that we have to take when we are
Yes, around this time we do a lot of cooking. And so I'll start from the kitchen. If you are cooking and you are using gas, ensure that if it is possible, the gas cylinders are placed outside. Okay. If it is not possible, when you are going to light your cooker, ensure that you open your windows and doors for air to enter into the kitchen. In so doing, if there is any leakage of gas in the kitchen, the fresh air will dilute or leak gas out, so that you don't experience any fires in the kitchen. Then again, most often we don't check our tubes, the tube that connects the gas to the gas cooker. So what you have to do is to run around it soapy water. If there is any leakage on the tube, you see bubbles coming out indicating that there is a leakage, then you change the tube. Then also we go to electricity. How best to use our electricity around this time. Some equipments are not meant to be on for a very long time.
What are those equipments? Can you run
Some of these equipments are television sets, radio sets, home theaters, fans, etc., etc. The only things that are supposed to be on forever are your refrigerators. Those ones, they are meant to be on as long as you want them to be on. Okay. So we should take note of this. And those items that are not supposed to be on, the moment you turn them off, make sure you switch off from the main switch, and then unplug, so that if there is any fault with the switches, then it will not affect your equipment for fires to occur.
Right. Any final message for Ghanaians?
Yes, my final message to Ghanaians is the Lord Jesus Christ came to take our burden out of our hands. So our burdens are with Jesus Christ. What I want you to also ensure is that around this time that Christ has taken our burden, don't bring another burden on yourself by allowing fire to consume your property. And so we should be fire conscious. And after being fire conscious, if anything should happen, please don't hesitate to call us on emergency lines 112 119 or 0302 772 446. Thank you very much.
I know this caution will make us smile, but it's a serious caution that is taking. Christ has taken our burden. Exactly. So we shouldn't allow fire to bring another burden onto us. Thank you so much. And this has been the Mr. Timothy Osafo Efun, Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Fire Service. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. You're welcome. Now, more than 1,000 security personnel, including the police, military, and other security services, have been deployed to Kwewu Ridge in the eastern region to provide security before, during, and after the Easter festivities. GBC News team visited to Kwewu to assess preparations for the Easter. Also revealed that all unregistered vehicles will not be allowed in the area during the festivity. We have our regional correspondent on the line to give us more update as to what he was able to find in Kwewu. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
How are you?
Very well, and you?
I am also, thank you. I know in the past, we could every year, it was an annual affair, you could hear Kwewu, Kwewu. But for 2 years now, we've not heard that.
Yes.
And the dormancy has been there for a while. Tell me, how is the feeling like in Kwewu when they heard that this year people are going to travel there?
Well, thank you so much. Yesterday, the news team visited Kwewu to assess their preparedness towards the celebration. Yesterday, the people were so happy that the president had lifted the ban the president has listed a ban on that because it has been long overdue. They say it has affected their economic life. And yesterday we interviewed few of them, and they were so happy that the celebration is back now. And yesterday we visited Kweu, Obome, Etibie, Praeso, and Abetifi. So those are the areas in noted for this celebration. At Kweu, Obome, you could say that some businessmen and women were seen erecting their stands to welcome their visitors, while hotels, motels, and guest houses were fully booked ahead of the celebration. Yesterday we visited Wax Hotel, and according to the manager over there, they said even the place is even full 1 month ahead of the celebration. And so, Kweu area over there, you see that the Federal Road Department field workers were also seen at the price of patching the potholes to make the roads more travel for commuters. Now, the road leading from TBA Junction to the Paragliding Field, part of it is tarred. And according to the DCE over there, they were expecting the contractor to complete it today. But from yesterday, from my point of view, I don't think they can complete the road before tomorrow. God willing, tomorrow is the launching of the paragliding festival. So it was all fun over there. People were entertaining themselves over there, and according to the DCE for Kweu East, Isaac Japan, it said that the assembly has outlined, has partnered some of the private businessmen, and they will provide a whole lot of entertainment shows over there. And also, they will also use the opportunity to come Saturday. They will launch Kweu State Book, and they are also expecting the President Nana Akufo-Addo to be part of that program. I think this is the first time to the National Lotteries Authorities. They will also this weekend they will do their weekend draw over there at Kweu Obome. So yesterday before we come, we left at that area around 7 p.m. When we get to cars and other holiday makers and visitors were throwing into the Kweu Reggae Prize, so they were over there. So the people were so happy that the celebration is back. So you could say that from their mood, you could see that they will celebrate it. They will celebrate it to the fullest. And according to the DCE for Kweu Sam Emmanuel Fori Atta Senior, he said previously when it happened like that, vehicular traffic the main problem. So now he said they are putting measures in place to ensure that there will no be any vehicular traffic so that there will be a free flow of traffic over. So far they are prepared for the celebration tomorrow.
Michael, thank you so much. I can feel happiness in the air from Kweu, even from your narration. We'll come back to you as and when for more updates. And that was Michael Amata, Eastern Regional Correspondent. And here in Accra, I am Winifred Efum. We go for a quick break. We will be back. As perseverance, logic, decisiveness, and self-confidence, being strong.
Good afternoon. We do business now. In our very first story, Ghana's inflation is now at 19.4%, as against 15.7% in February. This represents an increase of 3.7%, which is the highest since August of 2009. Food and housing were the main drivers of inflation, recording the highest rate of 27.6%, 22.4% and 21.4% respectively in the month of March.
Between February 2022 and March 2022, non-food inflation rose by 2 percentage points from 1.7 to 3.7%, while on a month-on-month basis from a food perspective, we saw only a 1.4 percentage point rising from 3.1 to 4.5, indicating a steeper increase for non-food inflation. We see a narrowing of the gap between locally produced items and imported items. In the month of February 2022, we saw a 3.8 percentage point between imported items and locally produced items, as locally produced items stood at 16.7 relative to imported items 12.9. This gap has been reduced to 2.7, a faster jump in imported items relative to locally produced items, as imported items have risen from 12.9% to 17.3%, whereas locally produced items have increased from 16.7% to 20.0%, culminating in the 2.7 percentage difference between locally produced items and imported items. From a geographical perspective, we continue to see variations across the administrative regions, and for the first time we are seeing the Brong-Ahafo region recording the highest rate of inflation of 23.1% and the Upper East region recording the least inflation of 12.5%, suggesting that or indicating a more than 10 percentage point between the region with the highest inflation and the region with the lowest inflation. Upper West continue to record the highest food inflation, and Upper West continue to record the least non-food inflation.
19.4%. I know you like to understand what this means to your purchasing power. And Professor John Gatti, it's an economist at the University of Cape Coast Business School. He joins us via phone for some explanation on this particular figure and what it means to your personal economy. Good afternoon to you, Prof.
Good afternoon.
Right, and so 19.4% should be worrying, especially for watchers of the Ghanaian economy like yourself.
Exactly so, because it has what we call a pass-through effect that will take some time, and that is supposed to be possible for upward development of inflation further in the coming months. So that is why we should be worried, because of the pass-through effect.
Right. So for the Ghanaian who goes to the market, what does this mean when it comes to buying and selling?
I think in reality, what it means is that the rise in prices of goods and services for the month of March is what has been recorded to us, and that has a signal for the coming month.
Sure.
Especially when we are talking about transport fare, fuel price, and food prices being some of the sources of the price build up. What it means is that the new increases in those services and commodities will have some pass-through effect for the month of April and perhaps May.
Right. So should we blame the Ukraine-Russian war and maybe COVID for the rise in inflation we're seeing in Ghana?
Well, I think we can, to some extent, yes, it has contributed to inflation, but you will notice that inflation started going up, I think, from 2020 up to date. So the rise in inflation after rebasing has been going up to today.
Right.
So we can blame some component of the rise in inflation to these two events.
Right. We see food inflation rising now at 22.2%. What's driving food prices in the country?
Yes, it is true, because nowadays a number of agriculture products, especially of food, are being imported also. So that is also fueling the rise in food prices. You will also notice that imported items also went up, and some of the imported items included food that we eat, and that definitely is also a contributory factor to the rise in food prices.
Will the Bank of Ghana, finally before I let you go, will the Bank of Ghana take a cue from this 19.4%? Not too long ago, they increased the policy rate, some 250 basis points to curtail inflation. We see inflation still going up. The next time the Bank of Ghana is going to announce the policy rate, are we going to see a hike because inflation is going up?
Well, I think that will be done in a 3-month time.
Sure.
So we need to wait and see how the pass-through effect is effected, because the pass-through effect is being strengthened. The policy rate is a cost that will build up. We have seen treasury bill rate going up already. I don't know how the lending rate is responding, and that pass-through effect, in addition to the inflation itself, may further increase the possibility of increasing the policy rate in the next window. But we need to wait and see the effect of the pass-through issues.
Thank you very much. Professor John Gatti is with the University of Cape Coast Business School there. I'm still talking about the Ghanaian economy. Banks wrote off 349.36 million Ghana cedis off as bad debts in February 2022. The amount is lower than the 364.46 million Ghana cedis recorded in February of 2021.
The domestic money bank's income statement by the Bank of Ghana indicated that the banking industry's asset quality improved year on year, evidenced by the decline in non-performing loans NPLs ratio, despite the nominal increase in the stock of NPLs to 8.1 billion Ghana cedis in February 2022 from 7.3 billion Ghana cedis in February 2021. The decline in the NPL ratio was on the back of a slowdown in the growth of the NPL stock to 11.2% from 15.1%, while the stock of loans, which forms the base of the NPL ratio, recorded a higher growth of 18.3% from 3.6% during the same review period. When adjusted for the fully provisioned loan loss category, the Bank of Ghana said the industry's adjusted NPL ratio also declined sharply from 6.6% to 4.9%, one of the lowest ratios the industry has recorded in a long time. The lower NPL ratio came on the back of a decline in the private sector NPL ratio to 15.3% in February 2022 from 16.5% in February 2021, with the public sector NPL ratio doubled to 6.4% from 3.2% during the same reference period. The sectors that recorded declines in their NPL ratios during the period under review included services, which registered a decline from 9.2% to 7.5%, electricity, water and gas from 25.6% to 13.7%, manufacturing from 19.0% to 11.1%, and mining and quarrying from 11.3% to 8.7%. On the other hand, the sector that recorded the highest increase in its NPL ratio was construction from 24.4% to 31.5%, followed by agriculture, forestry and fishing, which recorded 21.0% to 27.8%, then transportation, storage and communication from 7.3% to 12.4%, and then commerce and finance from 18.9% to 21.4%. The sector with the lowest NPL ratio is the services sector, though it is the highest recipient of the industry's loans, while the construction sector, the third largest recipient of industry loans, has the highest NPL ratio.
Significantly, the extension of the loan repayments moratoria deadline by the Bank of Ghana to December 31, 2022 will further cushion customers severely impacted by the pandemic and help moderate the adverse impact of the pandemic on banks' asset quality.
Let's go to the Interbank Forex market, where the cedi is now, or the dollar is trading at 7 cedis. The pound sterling is going for 9 cedis, 27 pesos, and the euro at 7 cedis, 72 pesos. On the international commodities market, light crude increased by 14 cents to close at $100, 74 cents a barrel.